unapologetic atheist interracial couple's progressive response to the fucking internet.
You know, Brent, what I sometimes really find so rude? It's these like sneak attack reminders that you are old. So like,
Yeah.
I'm just, reading the news, witnessing the world as you do. And then you just get these like, oh my God, I'm old. Like stories. Yeah. Like this week, for example. Okay. Paul Rudd turned 52.
Damn.
And in my mind, I'm like, that man is all of 36.
Right.
What is this?
He's been 36 for 36 years. Like, I don't know.
I still remember him in Clueless when he was like probably 19 or whatever. So like, I'm like, no. That man's still too young at heart.
That's right.
And in mind and body, in my mind.
In my head, I was going to, what I thought of was like the first thing was that Halloween movie that he was in. I bet you that was around the time of Clueless.
Yes. I think you're right. I can't
remember which. I think it was the Curse
Also, he was
Michael
still
Myers.
a baby. And, or at least we thought he was.
Yeah.
We were clearly mistaken.
He's got a baby face.
Also, Bad Boys the movie turned 26.
Wow. Weird. Wow.
Then this week, right, you and I were like, let's watch an old movie. So we watched, but not like super old, but just like still prime time, old.
Yeah.
We're like, let's watch
A classic. I mean, not a
Dusk Till
classic.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Turns out that motherfucker's turning 25 this year.
Woo.
And you just read these headlines and you're like, oh, no,
Right.
it cannot be. I'm
not that old.
Like, I have not lived 25 years or 26 years since that. What is that about?
We're right at like the age of like when you start to realize you're getting old. Like, I swear it's like it's so bad for me too, because like a lot of the bands that I listened to growing up like started before I was born already. Like yes. Bad Religion got together in 1980. So like they're 4 years before I was born,
yes.
And so now I'm like,
oh my God,
yeah, rock it out. And I'm like looking at the video and I'm like, oh my God, they're so old. Holy shit.
I'm like, it is so funny. It's just, you're minding your own business. And then all of a sudden the like reality of it hits you in the face.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. It's been years actually since the things I initially loved came to be.
Right.
like, oh my God.
That's so crazy
so
too
long.
to think about.
Anyway, it's rude and I'd wish for it to stop. I wish, let's like stop time. I'll be whatever age I am right now forever.
Yeah. There we go.
Mid-30s forever. Mid-30s till I die.
So hello and welcome to Unapologetics. Now, I'm not following that up with anything. It's just introducing the show now. I am Brently.
And I'm Nikki. Hey, thanks for coming back after a little break.
We need them sometimes.
We appreciate that. Yeah, it's been some time in the world.
Yeah. That's true. Yep. Spend some time in the
passed
world.
in the world, and many a thing has transpired. Mm-hmm. And today, I don't know why I'm so formal right now, but today we will be discussing some of the headlines. We're actually going to do an entire Bigots Be Crazy show today. Or we feel like, I feel like we're going back and forth on this, and y'all can weigh in. But so we have the segment called Bigots Be Crazy. Okay. Mm-hmm. But then I feel like headlines, I'm tired of that. It's so,
like everything we do is headlines. Like it's already
really,
headline. Like we could just call the fucking show headlines.
Headlines.
So it doesn't,
and it's my least favorite intro music.
Yeah, that one's pretty
honest.
bad.
Was that
was
too honest?
No, that was fine. That's the only one I copy and pasted. Like
I just realized as it was coming out that this may be too little. I mean, I love them all. It's just that one's not my favorite one.
Well, that's that. Like I said, that was the one. I just got that one from the free music thing where you can pick free music.
It's not even really your work.
No, it's not at all.
All I was doing was picking up on the fact that this song didn't carry your genius.
That's the
all
reason.
I did.
Okay, I see.
That's all I did.
I see. Well, I can agree. I'll agree right there.
There you go.
I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Love it when we can land on the same opinion. So I feel like there should be a new segment just called These Fucking People. Sorry, I forgot my own.
I forgot my line. Hold
my
on.
own
We're
new
right here on the
suggested
page.
segment.
Right there.
But yes, it would be called These Fucking People.
These fucking people.
Yes.
Or something.
Oh, see? Look at that. It's already... I like that. I feel like that was the beginning of a bop. And I want you to remember that. I guess we recorded it, so that's very good.
I want it to sound kind of like, the more you know.
I love that.
And then they have like a bunch of
See, I feel like you've already sold it. You've already sold it. Because I'm interested to hear that. And I think that would be a great addition to the show. Because I really like to keep Big as Be Crazy to like serious out there stuff. Like pastors talking about, like seriously talking about people being zombies.
Well, because you got to have the bigot element and the crazy. So I don't know. It's
like
it
is. So I feel like that's really for those out there stories where you're just, Inception level confused.
Because some stuff's just bad. It's not necessarily
exactly. These Fucking People is meant to denote more like the same group of people that keep doing the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Ted Cruz. Like, I'm looking at you, DeSantis.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, there needs to be a special category for like corruption and awfulness we see completely. And then the other stuff where it's like, I understand the basis for this, but how did we leap this far?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. I think we should do that and just nix on the old headlines there. Growth. That's it.
You just witnessed it.
That's progress, y'all.
We're so glad we can bring you along on these decisions. As you can see, there's no method to our madness. It's just pandemonium. That's it. Anywho, let's get started
on these fucking people.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Oh, you get such a complete show here. Yeah. I mean,
I'll fix it up later, you guys.
You get so much here. Listen, let's talk for a second about everything that's happening right now with Voting Rights Act. With voting, period. Not really the Voting Rights Act, because that was basically gutted. Which is why we got to talk about voting again. Mm-hmm. Because turns out when you don't keep certain precautions in place, people feel like they can do bold shit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So just like, we just lost an election. Clearly too many people are voting.
Yeah.
Guys, what can we get on this? Hey, you in the back, I need some ideas. Come on. Let's do it. How can we stop people voting? Come on.
Oh, they've always been in this game, but it's just really, they found the perfect excuse. But let's go back first.
Okay.
So there's this really weird thing on the surface that's happening, or it looks like is happening. And maybe, I don't know, it's obvious, I guess, to most folks, but then I feel like other people really don't see it. And so they say weird things. But okay, let me break this down.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's start
all of that to say. It seems to me that the Democrats seem to be the only people interested in like democracy,
yeah,
and like equality under the law,
you know,
somewhat. And I'm like, do Republicans see that they're doing this? Like, they know that they're doing this, right? And they're okay with doing this? Like, I don't know. Conservatives and Republicans, because I'm not even going to play this game like it's just the party.
I want all the people to be able to vote. The people that think just like me should be able to vote, okay? And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Just those people, though.
That's it.
Just those people, though. Just those people. So let's talk about, huge news. The new election law in Georgia that has quite a few provisions that, one, gives a whole lot more power to the Republican legislature to have an effect on elections, which is not great. Not great. No. And a bunch of other facets of the law, which, seems like small little nicks,
Yeah.
But when you put all the nicks together, you have this pattern of making certain type of people work really fucking hard to vote, while allowing other type of people, and we won't even, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like gonna keep it plain. Like another group of people,
just these other
it's
folks.
like almost like, here's a red carpet.
Yeah.
Please come vote.
It's real easy for you to vote.
Like,
we're gonna make sure.
We would love to have your votes. Step inside. Please vote.
Provide a car. We're gonna
I mean, so first, let's talk about some of these laws that are being proposed, because it's not just the law that recently passed in Georgia. It's also something that's happening pretty much around the country. So we got this from the article Republicans' War on Voting Rights from Vox, actually. So here's some of the things, babe. Mm-hmm. Arizona. Can't vote by mail unless you can prove disability. All ballots.
Why?
All mail-in ballots returned by mail must also be notarized.
Like you got to go to a notary?
Yes.
Which
is like, what the fuck am I doing a mail-in ballot for?
Why do we even get registered if we have to do all this other shit?
What is this for? Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
In 18 states.
I'm going to be saying that a lot. Please. That's going to be a repeat problem I have.
In 18 states, they want to impose stricter voter ID laws. And in 9 states, they want to eliminate or severely restrict absentee voting. And that's, some of the bigger things. There's all these other smaller things happening as far as wanting to give more control to the legislatures instead of, because I think there was a Supreme Court case, last month.
Yeah.
On voting rights about this entire doctrine. I'm sorry, we're going to veer for a second. Of the state legislature basically having all control over all elections. And the federal government really doesn't have a say in pretty much any of it at all. And that would be somewhat terrifying.
So states at this point I know that states get to pick their own rules, but they have to have oversight currently, right?
Exactly. The federal government. Exactly.
So if a state let's say that a state had the actual politicians that are working, if it was majority Republican, the actual politicians, right? But the community is mixed. Right, as far as bipartisan.
A great example would be Wisconsin. Wisconsin is so gerrymandered that Republicans actually get more control in the legislature, despite how many more votes Democrats get. So that would be they would have exclusive control over all of that. Exactly. So if say the Justice Department was like, okay, we're seeing you're having issues with access or whatever, and they put them on some kind of review process. Basically, if the legislature passes it,
you kind of
wow. There's no standing there. The federal government wouldn't have any standing there.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy. I'm probably getting that wrong. Not a lawyer. Just read a couple articles.
Do not get legal advice from this podcast at all.
No,
don't do that.
Do not do that. But
apparently you shouldn't get it from any podcast, but just definitely not this one.
Yeah, that's sage wisdom. But the whole overarching point is that it's going to become more difficult for anyone, whether it be local election boards, the governor, the state Supreme Court, or the federal government, to have any say at all in state and federal elections.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they can change like all these kinds of
in federal elections, which is crazy.
Well, because most of them they do align together. So like if you can do a bunch of rules for your state elections and they're always falling into federal elections, you can kind of do not quote any of us on. Don't do it.
We're just talking, okay?
Don't do it. We're working through this shit together. All of us.
Expressed here are... I don't know the rest.
So, you would think, right? Like, this is a lot of effort to go through. Because let's be real. Republicans don't seem to be the party of, like, we want to do some shit. Like, for the most part, they don't really like to do... Or it doesn't seem to me
anything.
Exactly.
In fact, they want to undo things that we have done.
Yes, there is a lot of not wanting to do things and a lot of blocking things when other people want to do things.
Yes, that's their job is to not do things.
I mean, so this seems like a pretty big effort on their part, and so you would think there has to be so much evidence, right? Well. No. So still was a very safe election by all the people who know this stuff.
Yeah, but that's the thing. See, and that's why I feel like this makes so much sense. Because, look, what is their base most angry about? The thing that isn't even fucking true, that they lost an election because they just lost an election. That's what they're mad about.
Exactly.
And they all are believing these obvious fucking lies, that the election was rigged. I mean, they've been, all the pundits and whatnot, the Steven Crowders and all these fucks have been talking about this forever.
Like I said earlier, we're in a window. Opportunism.
Yeah, it's
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just it's the perfect time to pounce on, hey, let's stop people, let's make it really difficult to vote.
I mean, and if you think back to the insurrection, what did Senator Josh Hawley said? Yeah, my constituents believe there was voter fraud and that Trump actually won this election. So that makes it true. That gives him the power to be what he was that day. Because as long as my constituents, wrong as they may be, they believe it's true, so it is my job to go out and cloak for them. Now, mind you, he also has constituents, I'm sure, that are like big supporters of Black Lives Matter, but he would never take it upon himself to cape so motherfucking hard for that, I am sure.
Yeah. That's not party dependent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, but interestingly, it's not just the opportunism, right? Like that's we can see that's how they're going about it. But the evidence is also like really not there for any of these specific type of things. So that same article, they talked about how even in states, so we have to assume 2020 was a very like interesting election year, like brand new. Like there was a lot of brand new shit that happened during 2020 to expand the access to the ballot because of COVID and wanting to keep people safe.
And wanting to keep it fair too,
Yes.
Because, you got to be able to vote in order to do an election. And then you're like, okay, everybody go risk your lives so that we can have democracy here at this place. No, I mean, you got to make it like safe, for people to be able to vote.
It's the least you can do. And also, it's a motherfucking right. So, can you pull out the red carpet for us all? But anyway, so in those states where they expanded vote by mail, Trump actually did better. Like, Democrats didn't even do better in those states.
Holy shit, how
He
weird.
did better in vote by mail. They also looked at, in Texas is real fucked up. Like, you have to be 65 or older to even qualify for mail-in voting.
Really?
If you're under 65, you have to basically go to the polls.
Damn.
You cannot do
Weird.
vote by mail. And so they did a look at it's called Stanford's Democracy and Polarization Lab. It's cool.
That is cool. It's pretty cool.
I wasn't. You weren't being sarcastic. I don't know why it sounded like that.
No, in all earnesty, like that's pretty cool. Like I'm
I bet they have some fucking kick-ass white papers.
yeah.
So anyway, in Texas, so you have to be 65 years old, and they looked at what was the difference in party between 65-year-olds and like 64-year-olds, and there was no like appreciable difference at all.
There isn't.
Like among Democrats, like it wasn't like, I'm 64, I'm not gonna vote until I'm 65 and I get that vote by mail.
Right.
Like who does that? Like, that's not a thing.
Just wait until I get that sweet mail-in ballot.
Yes. And of course, finally, there are really almost no instances of actual fraud to legislate against. It's not like we have all these examples so we can write specific rules. We're just assuming that things are not safe because, I don't know, we're not keeping armed guards around them at all times.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get it. And
it's like Terminator robots like scanning the environment the entire time everybody's doing, the counting and all that stuff. I don't know what they want.
Exactly.
I don't know.
I don't know. Me either, Brent.
I'm just like picturing those planes that the Terminators got in the movies with all those red lasers just going all over everything the whole time.
Yes.
Hold on, this guy would stop.
Step away from the voting.
Yeah. 3 seconds.
Like the
2
vote by
seconds.
mail
1
station.
second.
Dropbox. That's what they're called. Dropboxes.
Dropbox, yeah.
Step away. So we have all these new proposed bills. One just passed in Georgia. And it's all based on bullshit. So it all is just basically making it harder for folks who it isn't already easy to vote for to vote. And what I hate about talking about this stuff is it inevitably leads to like even more, so what if they're closing a station down here? So what if they're getting rid of a Dropbox here? So what? Like everyone gets to have, everyone can get an ID. I mean, really, if you can't get an ID, what? So what? Like, just go vote early or go in the morning and it's just like those people don't get that this is a fucking right.
Yeah.
Like, stop it.
You guys freak out anytime we try to put, you got to have an ID to buy a gun or anything like that, And they're like, it's all right. It's all right. Even though the context is completely wrong. It's it was a controlled militia.
Yeah.
Is why you within that, you'd still have the right to have a gun. But, they've twisted that so much over so long that we all kind of don't even think about it anymore,
Yeah.
But this is voting is how our democracy remains a democracy.
Correct. Yes.
This is insane.
And you should automatically say, what the fuck? Anytime anyone tries to limit it for any reason, because for the most part, it's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
It's probably bullshit.
Because they know that if they can stop people, as many people from making it harder for people to vote, the people that won't vote, more than likely it's because they have a job or multiple jobs or, all these other things they have to do.
I hate even getting into those weeds like that. Fuck you.
That's
voting is a right. It should be a holiday. All of this extra, we don't need it. It's bad. Because the thing is the second you start talking about, but what about these people who do this and these people who can't make it here and these people who can't make it here? Then these fucking utilitarians who only see the value in certain people in society come on out and are like, well, if you can't figure out to vote, should you really be voting? So I want to talk about this is not a leak.
Nonsense.
Okay. The National Review this week had an article entitled, "Why Not Fewer Voters?" And it said, like, this is the tweet. "Might the republic be better served by having fewer but better voters?"
Jesus.
Like, this is 2021. And then when people are like, this is some Jim Crow shit, everyone's like, whoa.
Yeah, because they're like, no, it'd be cool if everybody that thinks just like me could vote. I mean, no, I'm just saying better voters, people that would vote like me.
Like, what is that?
We just
What does that even mean,
need
bro?
more of my voters. That's people that vote like me. Like
What?
that. What the fuck, dude? That's so.
What does that even mean? And how can you possibly be a representative of a democracy and be saying something like this?
Yeah.
It is absolutely bananas. Like, what are you doing? We're fully talking about restricting suffrage now.
Yeah.
Are we going, like, is time actually a flat circle?
Right.
Like, are we back at that already?
Exactly. Like in the last debate I did, he actually asked me at one point. One of the questions was, "Would you rather allow 15-year-olds to vote, right? Like move the age down to 15? It's an either or, right? So it's kind of tough, right? But it moved it to the age to 15, or have people have to pass some sort of civics test in order to vote."
Move it down to 15. This is not
That's
even
exactly
easy.
what
I mean, that's not even hard. Like, what do you, I don't even understand. Like, obviously move it down to 15. Like, 15-year-olds get driving permits. 15-year-olds work at Publix. They are cashing checks. They are paying taxes. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. I think it halted me for a second because I was like, no, I remember when I was 15, or when I turned 18, because I'm a late bloomer, and my parents would be like, "Here's your ballot. Okay, we filled it all out for you. Go ahead and sign right there. Sign right here, okay? Go ahead and do that. All right, good. You voted. You sure did that. You're doing your civic duty, sir." I'm like, I didn't even know who. Okay, go ahead and just take it. Whatever. You know what I mean?
That is. I won't say anything else, but that is not how I first was introduced to voting, I'll say. But
it's like I didn't even get to fill in the cool
yeah,
bubble.
Of course,
thing.
there's definitely a fear of, parents having an undue influence. But I think I don't know.
That was the only thing that gave me pause. I still ended up on the conclusion.
Kids would do the exact opposite of what their parents wanted them to do.
I was gonna say, like, that's why I ended up landing on that conclusion, like, because I kind of thought it out throughout the conversation, but. Dude, yeah, I was like, no, 15-year-olds being able to vote all the way. I don't want people to have to take a test.
In future, no fucking test. Like, no. That's fucking Jim Crow. Like, that's like, and what is the test going to look like? And what is it going to?
And who's going to make the test?
How would we even?
And what kind of questions are on it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And also, who gets to tabulate the results? Who get, like, we can't even. But anyway. The point is, it gets ridiculous. It leads to dumb shit like Tucker Carlson talking about the Great Replacement Theory on air and just like talking about it like it's normal and that it's okay to call people obedient voters from the third world.
Yeah, what the fuck did that?
Where
was he going with that one?
Does that mean? And it's like, it's almost this thing where it's like, you don't even want to try to break that down because you feel racist doing it.
Right.
I know, right?
I
just feel racist trying to understand what the racist is saying.
Yeah. Because I got to step into his brain enough to feel icky. You know what I mean? Like, it's not good.
Ugh. This is just not okay. And then what's interesting this week, the New York Times did a story about a study that came out that found the folks that were at the insurrection, they mostly came from cities or rural areas where residents were worried about immigrants and minorities taking over from white people.
Oh.
Yeah, that story is called "Fears of White People Losing Out Permeate Capitol Rioters' Towns." Yeah, so
good job on the title there, y'all. That's
it's like very clear what that's
Okay.
about. But it's like, you see how it's like,
Got
you
it.
start off with just like, oh, we just think it's important for more voter security, so we're gonna just shut some of these places down and take away some of these, you know, these drop boxes and limit the amount of people who can vote by mail and do absentee. And then, oh, by the way, you need to show at least this and this, even though you've been in this country, you've been living here, like you literally, like this is
Prove
your
it,
home.
though. Prove it right now. Right here,
know.
right now. You're a
I
citizen.
know.
Go.
But the
Prove
thing is,
it.
they have all these ways of, like, I don't know. They have all these other ways of, like, figuring this shit out. I don't understand it. I don't know. It just feels very fake. And then it feels like it's just there to get us into an argument about, oh, that's right. There's a bunch of people in America who are spoiling it for the rest of us. And we need to make sure those people don't vote.
Yeah.
Which is what it comes down to.
Basically.
And then those same people bum rush our fucking Capitol.
Right.
And it's like,
demand everybody follow laws and shit, you know, like, why don't you just follow the law? Like, you know, I'm sure they've said that like millions of times before they went and broke into the Capitol and defecated in a fucking office. Jesus Christ.
Of all the things to do when you're trying to make a political, philosophical, and moral point,
Right.
I just don't feel like defecating in a trash can is it.
Dude, every
It's
time.
not really sticking it to the man.
Every time, exactly, right? Like, every time that they, like, somebody brings that up, all I can see is Aaron Paul, you know, Jesse Pinkman,
Yes.
in Van Wilder shitting on somebody.
He
was in Van Wilder, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
He's in that movie, dude. But
I've
he's
never seen Van Wilder.
He's casted as drunk guy. That was that was literally his name in the credits.
It's so amazing to know that he went from that to like this incredible badass in Westworld the last season.
Yeah.
What an evolution.
Oh man. Yeah. He's solid. Solid dude. Solid
I
actor.
guess that was a segue to our next story.
Next story is
And now let's talk about COVID. One fun subject to the
Great.
next.
It's just the best.
Yes. So apparently all of that fear that Black people would bring us all down by not getting the vaccine, that was probably just not necessary, because it turns out that like white evangelicals actually might be the ones that prolong the pandemic.
Oh, weird. They've been so productive so far. So all of a sudden now they're going to change direction. Oh, no, never mind. None of that's true.
So
Jeez.
it's obviously due to vaccine refusal. Millions of white evangelical adults in the U.S. do not intend to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Tenets of faith and mistrust of science play a role, as does politics. It's weird how that all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. The politics create the distrust in science, and then
Which is really weird, because
religion
I thought,
sort of helps that along.
yes, it does.
Because they use that as a vessel to get from one to the other.
But doesn't it feel confusing to you how the creationists like to talk about how they have so much scientific backing and they have, like, it's so scientific?
I know, that drives me crazy.
But then they mistrust science. I don't.
Yeah, because, like, I'll go, you know, I see, like, Answers in Genesis all the time online, and they're like, here's how scientifically the flood is actually true. You know, and you're like, what? You know, like, why even fucking bring, you know, why even try to go to those goalposts? Like, you know, why even try to bring it to science? Because you don't want a scientific answer. Because the answer at the end of the day is God magic. Well, but, okay, but God magic, bro.
And then it makes you feel
it's
dumb,
totally
because you're
possible.
like,
You know, it's like, then why'd you
I
ask
know
for a scientific
science.
answer? Like, what did you want?
yes.
You know, like,
But it's like, I know science,
Jesus.
but I don't know science well enough. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you the actual year that, like, you know, we know dinosaurs started and then ended in this and this and this. Like, so you have to, like, read multiple sources at the same time, and then you're just like, oh, fuck it. No, I don't have time for this. And then the creationist scientists have won.
Yeah.
It's a sad tale.
And so I just go, no, I don't. no, you're just wrong. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, because you're wrong, bro. Like, I don't need to do anything.
Like,
Prove it.
No,
you prove it. Scientists
not playing
already
that
proved
game,
it,
sir. So. I'm not playing that game. But it's amazing to me that the biggest thing, so the tenets of faith aspect of it, right? And I want you to break this down for me because it really makes me uncomfortable that there are people walking around thinking that they are protected from COVID because of God's love and the hundreds of thousands of people that have died around the world didn't have that. Like,
they weren't doing it right. They weren't doing it right. You know, if they were a Christian and died of COVID, they weren't Christianing the right way. And their faith clearly wasn't there. Because if they had the faith, then they wouldn't have gotten sick. I mean, that's just obvious.
That
really. I mean,
is an ego. Like that's a huge. That's amazing.
But it's almost required for religion, period, because you have to assume, because there are so many different interpretations of so many different denominations of so many different religions, that within that religion, all those different denominations and all those different interpretations are incorrect, right? Yeah. So you're going to be like, well, that's because they weren't, that's where you get the whole, you know, they're not a real Christian. Well, they're not a true Christian, you know, kind of thing. And you get that. That's so kind of boiled in to your mind when you're a Christian, you know, that I'm the right kind of Christian, like, because I know, you know, that mine is right, you know, and that's so baked in that it's not difficult for it to move from that to like COVID. Like the reason they got sick was because they're not doing it.
I mean, really,
and even if they are the same religion, they didn't have enough faith. It's always an escape. Personal responsibility. Again, like it's a hamster wheel. Like you can like it doesn't matter. You can always put it back on that.
And you know, as you explain it, it occurs to me that in some ways it's so porous that it makes it easy to jump to anything, really, to make those large leaps to almost anything. Because I'm thinking about, you know, just Q, for example.
I was gonna say,
and
like, that's,
you know,
and that's not even the craziest one. But go ahead.
What would be crazier?
Reptilian humanoids?
Oh my gosh, you're right. I was thinking specifically evangelical Christians, but you're right.
But
and
they are.
Oh,
like,
you know what? We just watched a video talking about zombies, so you're right. Shame on me.
Dude,
my
I'm
lack
pretty
of
sure
imagination.
The people that read David Icke, most of them are evangelical Christians that hate Jewish people and think they're lizard aliens.
Oh my God. So anti-Semitic.
It really is. Like, I was just on the one there on Scathing Atheist. They're actually listening to his book, and they put the word Jew and put it through and see how many times it was brought up. And it was something like, if you added like all the synonyms for Jew and stuff like that, and you put it all together, it was something like 578 times. Like, it was mentioned like multiple times per page.
Has the Anti-Defamation League ever gone after him?
I don't know.
Oh my.
Probably not, because they're just like, fuck this guy, he's an idiot. Did you read his book? You got nothing to worry about there.
But you do, though.
I know,
because
that's
now
the
these
crazy
fuckers
thing.
aren't going to get COVID vaccine. That's the problem. But it occurred to me, like watching Q, the documentary, and reading about it, it is so hard for me to follow because it's like built on a foundation of nothing and scaffolded with nothing into these giant leaps of supposed knowledge. And I'm like, I'm so confused because I don't even know how you got from there to there to there to there to there.
Yeah, because you've always, I mean, ever since we got together, like, I always remember you being so structured in your thinking.
Yes.
There was like, have a good epistemological foundation, and then you build from there. And like, you know, it was always for anything, just about, you know, when we were talking, it's almost just natural. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, for me, I'm thinking about it constantly because like I was raised in a way that I didn't get any of that, You know what I mean? So like I have to like focus on it and think about it, a lot, and talk about it and stuff. But you kind of just had it naturally.
No, I have to do the same thing. That's me doing the process. Anyway, so, but yeah, that is, for me, that's like, I have to, I'm a very much, you start at A and you end at Z, wherever that is.
Right.
Or Z. Right? So what, I don't get how Democratic cabal of child rapists and eaters, where that comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it if you just say, like, public officials, right?
Yeah.
Because that was very much a part of, like, that whole Johnny Gosh. Remember Johnny Gosh? Where's Johnny Gosh? And the whole, like, Coconut Grove, Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Coconut Grove. I love it. That's
yeah.
They should rename it Coconut Grove, actually. That'd be much more much more pleasant.
It's very much on brand for today.
And
like, coconut is very much the fruit of the, like, 2020s. The, like, 2010s to recent. Like, coconut is the thing. Right? So, I don't know. It's
for me, like, honestly, if I were, like, because I used to be into conspiracies a lot. And it was funny because it was almost an extension of what I was already doing, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, I would be looking at the Bible and reading parts. And the whole point of, like, reading the Bible is you're supposed to, like, read it in a way that's where it's personally connecting to you, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's trying, the book itself is trying to give you a message, okay?
That is that's not plain in the written word?
No, that's not plain.
Okay.
You have to kind of, so if you flip through, right, and you get to a particular verse.
That's what church is. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, okay. So if you get to a particular verse, right, and it's like, it's saying one thing, and you're like, oh, that kind of, I feel like that means something to me right now, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm also reading, because I would used to read in the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? I would do a little bit in the Old Testament, a little bit in the New Testament. And a lot of Christians do, like, multiple readings of multiple books at the same time. Yeah. Right. And so what you start to do is you start to go, oh, well, that connects to this that I just was reading about. And that means that this is that. And that means that is this. And it's, you make all these
scaffolding from nothing.
Exactly.
Except for what you're making up in your own head. And how can any other person ever follow that completely?
Because
unless
you
they
believe,
just wholesale believe everything that they're just saying.
Well, right, because you believe, and in this case, the book is trying. There's a force that is trying to give you a message. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's trying through reading, because we always said, like, prayer is how we talk to God. The Bible is how He talks to us.
So why isn't Q blasphemous?
What do you mean?
If Q is trying to tell them something that would instead have been reserved for God, how is Q taking, like, usurping that space?
Well, he would
not blasphemous.
Well, he would reference the Bible a lot. He would leave, like, Bible.
So is he like a prophet,
verses.
Or is he like an actual deity?
No, he's just a. I mean, he's supposed to be some secret agent that's at such a high level, has a Q level clearance.
So more like a prophet.
Right. But, well, I mean, I think he's somebody who's in that world that has that kind of information, but is on their team and is a Christian, for sure.
Okay, so he is subject to God.
But
I wouldn't say God.
He was I wouldn't say the stuff that he's claiming, the information that he's claiming to get is from God. I think it's from the intelligence that he claims to have.
But remember, they're connecting it to a larger movement of catching all the Democrats, baby eaters, baby rapists. So he has to be fighting for a greater good, which is the babies, save the babies.
Yeah.
Which, wouldn't that be a divine mission from God?
I mean, I think they just see him as a vessel. So, I mean, I guess you could call him like a prophet or whatever, but I don't think that they think necessarily that he's a prophet. I just think that they think that he's got intel, and he's on their team. He's a Christian. He loves Jesus just like they do. He's a
whistleblower.
He's a whistleblower. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's what they think he is a whistleblower. And he has specific intel, and that's why he has to be anonymous. Right? And that's what, you know what I mean? It plays into their whole narrative. you know. But yeah, I wouldn't say.
But I mean, it's not. I mean, we're just talking about Q right now, which is not a specific. It's not only an evangelical Christian domain. Lots of different people,
but it's heavily. I mean, that's the majority because of like what I just said. Not necessarily because Q aligns with their ideology so much. It's just that they already have that kind of connect the dots thinking.
Well, it's just kind of assumed, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
because I mean, a lot of these are Trump supporters anyway.
Yeah, and Q just QAnon like knows that that's an easy way to get people that are easily led to be led. You know what I mean? Like it's just put them down a puzzle and let them feel like they're figuring things out and stuff. You know, that's just.
So, do you feel like, and this is gonna be spoiler free, folks? Do you feel
I'm not
like...
going to say who Q is, because we do know, or I feel like I know.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Do you feel like the Q documentary gave sufficient evidence to point to the person that they pointed to as Q?
I mean, I could be mistaken, of course, and this could all be wrong. And I probably have maybe a 70% confidence that I'm right on this, you know, so I'm leaving myself some wiggle room there. But no, I think that it does. I think that the documentary, the way that it was played out and stuff, and the way, and I, like I said, I called that dude early on. I was like, that's him right there. That's Q. That's the dude.
It just feels incredibly on the nose.
Like,
I don't know.
He just, you know, anytime it came to Q, he got really like nervous, and it wasn't. He's not good at acting, and that's clear throughout the documentary. So him being able to act like he's uncomfortable that well, I don't buy it.
Well,
but that's just me.
I mean,
and no, I wouldn't say that I have.
I'm so very confused about it, and I'm gobsmacked at the fact that we have Laura Boebert and fucking
Marge.
Like,
just good old Marge.
Like marching towards that drum. It just seems it is
it's creepy.
It's a lot. And now, you know, they're going crazy over the vaccine passports, and I don't get what they get outraged by. It is so odd to me. I'm just like,
every time it's something different.
I'm like, they take the most bad faith in everything. Like, they imbue everything with the worst type of faith. Like, it is just, it's like, I mean, I understand being vigilant, because I mean, like we discussed earlier, who knew Jim Crow was going to become fashionable again?
Right.
I mean, didn't see that coming. So it's important to stay vigilant, but it's also just kind of like, practically, you see the need for this, right? You understand that this is something that's going to help the world open back up again.
Right. Safely.
Right? And we're talking about something that everyone's already going to have access to anyway, because there's already this, and I think it's a very fair discussion of like, damn, we're going to have to share some really intimate information about our lives with our employers and with, you know, services in order to receive those services. Right. And I think there is a part of that that's super fucking uncomfortable and wants to understand where are the lines there with that. But at the same time, it's like, we have to get immunized for so much shit. Right. That, I don't know, man. This seems like just a part of that whole process. Seems obvious. We're just in the middle of it. And since we're like in a specific part of time where we just have never been in a situation where we had a pandemic scare like this, it just seems really scary because it's new to us, but not to the polio generation, you know, not to the measles generation. Like, it is very obvious why you kind of have to do these things for the sake of humanity.
Well, right. And it kind of plays back to like what I was saying, like the, you know, how our brains are pattern recognition machines, right? That's what they do. Right. And so when you have these people that are pattern recognition machines that are just running amok and they're just out of control, it's just a machine just going.
Personally, I think their pattern machine is broken.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
it's set on like hypocrite and like troll.
Well, it's like the part of the movie, you know, where the two guys are fighting and they're next to like a merry-go-round or something, and they hit the controls and go, and then the merry-go-round starts going real fast. Like, that's what this is for the pattern recognition machine in Marjorie Taylor Greene's brain.
That was great, babe. I think you just did an onomatopoeia there. That was awesome.
So, like, when that's happening, it's because they are seeing a pattern, and basically, because in the Bible, you know, they have the
mark of the beast.
The mark of the beast.
You're right.
And you're not able to buy or sell, and it limits your ability to function in society. And so she just, that's just like this. You know, the machine's broken, it's spinning out of control. She's just, like, you know, they're taking over. You know,
they are
and it's
never gonna get vaccinated.
It's not. No. It's not gonna. No.
I'm sorry, this is not funny.
And
at
if they
all,
did it in their hand,
but it's
she would, because it's like
actually.
you get
that's
the mark.
my uncomfortable response to being terrified.
Like, you know,
and I can't do anything.
But, yeah.
I don't know why I felt like I had to explain that. I am not an evil person. I just am increasingly a human with no control or power. Anyway, you were
That's
saying.
Right. But yeah, no, so it causes them to just map these things to those things. And, you know, it just makes it so that they can come to these conclusions, like thinking that they're being reasonable, but they're really so far from reason. It's not funny. You know what I mean?
So
just because they're waiting for this to happen. You got to keep that in mind. They're waiting for this to happen, right? And so everything's been the mark of the beast for fucking ever. Credit cards were the goddamn mark of the beast at one point. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, everything has been a mark of the beast because they're waiting for it to happen. So they're ready to just say whatever's happening is it.
Do they ever update the prophecy?
They all just kind of shrug and don't want to talk about it. It's like, you know, I don't want to talk about that.
That's
convenient. Move on to another conversation. Bring something else up.
Well, I hope everyone's getting their vaccines. I think almost everyone's going to be eligible pretty much by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yay.
Yeah, it's been interesting trying to find an appointment around here, but we are working on it.
We'll get there.
We will get there.
We are eligible. We got to find a location that's reasonable for us to be able to get to.
Yeah, because these pop-ups are hard.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because it's like all the rural areas, you know, of Florida where it's just like Republican dominated.
Oh yeah, plenty appointments.
It's so like like you can get in for days. Like
basically all North Florida.
We probably could get 2 needles handed to us to give out to our friends. Like, you know, hey, whatever, bro. Here,
take a whole bag. Take a to-go bag.
Like, exactly. Like, but when it comes to the city. And especially our city, because our city's pretty...
Yeah, basically everything from, like, Gainesville down is booked on up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely... It's funny how stark the difference is there.
Yep. And we're just talking about CVS here. And, well, in Publix.
Yeah. God
yeah, so... Yeah, and actually Walgreens, too.
And Walgreens,
and Walgreens, too.
That's right.
Yeah, we're looking.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get it.
So let's turn to a more standard variety corruption here.
Oh, fun.
So found this story in Politico. A pastor running for New Jersey governor lives in a luxury $1.6 million home, tax-free.
Wow.
So Pastor Phil Rizzo, he's a pastor of a small, actually the article threw some shade and was like a tiny Baptist.
No shit.
Tiny, like
got
literally
7 people that go there.
He is a pastor of a tiny Baptist church, and he is a Republican, Trump pastor. There was, he was like on his Facebook, you know, talking about the election being stolen, and it was actually Antifa at the insurrection, you know, standard variety Trumper. And
it's so weird that we have Trump pastors now. We have Trump pastors, y'all.
Pastors.
Like, how can you not tell me this is a fucking cult when we got legit fucking Trump pastors?
What was that song you came up with earlier? So funny.
What?
The song.
What?
The cover of I'm on a Boat.
Oh, I'm in a cult. Yeah. I'm in a cult. Yeah.
We're still
I'm
coming
in
up
a
with words.
motherfucking cult. Yeah. We got to make that. We got to make that song.
Yes.
And they're all holding Q signs. I was just like picturing Andy Samberg and them all like holding Q signs.
Yeah.
And, like,
He needs to yeah, I don't know if Andy Samberg wants that kind of smoke though, because we cannot protect him and his family.
No.
Like,
and he's already Jewish, so he's already got half the target on his back.
Oh yeah, I do not support that.
Don't make it worse.
Woo. Anyway, so Phil Rizzo, let's tease out this story, okay? So he bought the home in 2015 for $1.55 million. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 2 years later, he sold that $1.55 million home. This is in New Jersey, if I hadn't already said that, to that tiny Baptist church because they hired him as the pastor, but they didn't have enough money to pay him a salary. So
that was their deal. That was your swapsies for it, like
yes. So the swapsies was they would buy his $1.55 million home for $1.65 million.
Wow.
And then let him and his family live in it for free.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's not legal, is it? Is that legal? I don't know.
I really hope it isn't, but anyway.
Church-state separation lines are so fucking blurred these days. Like, who the fuck knows?
So, since they sold the home to the church, there have been numerous luxury upgrades, including an ensuite for all 5 bedrooms. Do you know what an ensuite is?
No. What's an ensuite? It's
a bathroom in the room. It's like the fancy way of saying it.
Oh.
I think it's French, I guess.
They have an ensuite. It's sweet to have it on there. Like, it's...
I mean, it's actual French words. Ensuite.
Oh.
ENSU.
Oh, well, that's not...
Yes, I mean, it
so
is
the etymology
actually
isn't
French.
right. No, from
Yes.
my time. Okay. Well.
For all 5 bathrooms, which I mean, that is pretty fucking luxurious. Can
Yeah.
I tell you? I feel like that's
All
like
bedrooms.
every person's dream to always have an extra bathroom for guests. Like, I know it's a lot, but it's like, oh, how much do we hate as humans sharing bathrooms?
Right. Well, and it almost feels like it's like the person with IBS's dream home. You know what I mean? There's always a bathroom like 2 inches away. They're just
like, finally I can travel because every room I'm in has its own bathroom and I can bomb that bitch in peace. I don't have to be ashamed.
I wish every place was like my house. I wish the bus was like my house. I wish, you know.
This just went somewhere that I wasn't expecting.
It sucks having IBS. I'm just saying.
Anyway,
that's all I'm saying.
Ensuite for all 5 bedrooms, 3 fireplaces, a Viking 6-burner gas stove, and 2, not 1, 2 Sub-Zero freezers.
Wow.
So,
Jesus. And they're not paying taxes on any of that shit.
No taxes.
Wow.
Not a penny of taxes.
Like, we can do whatever we want.
And
It's great.
Here's the wild part. In November of 2020, I don't know what happened, but there was some mistake, some miscommunication. But in November of 2020, they briefly put it on sale. Get this. For $2.65 million.
Jesus.
$1 million more than what the church had bought it for. So they quickly pulled
so that's
it.
my salary right there.
I'm like, because that's my
$1
question.
million bucks.
I'm like, okay, if they sell it and they're making this $1 million, how much of that does he get? And then it's a tiny congregation. So how are they affording the upgrades? How do they afford all this shit, but they can't pay you a salary? Make it make sense.
That's how I was just wondering. Like, how did they buy it if they can't even pay him a salary? Couldn't they have just paid a salary out of the 1 point whatever million that they bought the
I mean,
place?
really. And the ad was like, oh, it's been renovated from top to bottom. Like, what who was doing these renovations? Was he doing the renovations while him and his family were still living there? And if so, why? Was this a whole real estate scheme? Because of course he comes from a family of real estate developers, as he is one as well.
Well, all right.
In addition to being a pastor at a tiny congregation, so it feels a whole lot. I mean, I don't know, but it feels a whole lot like they were like, let's sell this to the church real quick, get a loan to fix this motherfucker up, and then we'll sell it in the name of the church and make like $1 million. And we don't have to pay taxes at all. Yeah.
It's a loophole.
It's just wild to me.
I mean, if I were to put on, my private investigator's hat, it's full of peanut butter. That's why it sounds like that. But it'd be so unbelievably obvious.
I was not seeing that. I didn't see that coming. Oh my goodness.
This was all just like made up so that they could fucking do this. You know what I mean? Like for the property development. I mean, it's just all is coming into place.
And,
you know what I mean?
Okay, but why run for fucking governor of New Jersey? Don't you think someone's going to look into that?
Why stop it just ripping off fucking the people of your...
You are correct.
Like, why stop there, man? Hey.
A grifter never stops grifting.
That's right.
That is the point.
Grifters
You just gotta keep
grift.
Moving.
That's right.
Keep the grift going.
That's right.
That's really sad. But anyway, he apparently has no chance of winning. I mean, New Jersey is a pretty solidly Democratic state, but also he's not even like the number one favored Republican of winning. Which is even more like, why? What are you doing all this for? You just put your entire, your whole shit is on blast now. I mean, thank you, Icarus. Appreciate you. But what's going on here? And why is the church selling property that's supposed to be a parsonage for the church for a ridiculous $1 million profit? That's insane.
If Dr. Dunning and Dr. Kruger were still alive, they'd be like, that's our guy. That guy right there. Are they still alive? I hope they're... I don't know. I figured they'd be dead by now.
I don't think so.
So, yeah, my joke stands.
You're like, I'm fucking sure of it.
Like that guy. Like him. That's what we're talking about.
Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm going to figure out if they're still alive.
Oh, great. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
And they are two different doctors, too, right?
Yes.
It wasn't like a guy named Dunning, because that sounds weird. Who would be named Dunning?
Yeah. Oh, I'm pretty sure they're still alive. He received his PhD in 1986.
Oh, okay.
So David Dunning is still alive.
Okay, so both of them are just looking at this report going, that guy.
Justin Kruger is also still alive.
My bad.
So yeah, they're still...
I don't pay a whole lot of attention to scientists, obituaries.
Who would? That is not a fucking... That is not an everyday expectation of any human.
Obituaries of science. I should check that every day.
No. I refuse. I'm not taking that on. No, thank you. I mean, I appreciate you all for everything that you do, but there's too many of you.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. That's two people right there.
I mean, just one concept.
Paper, one effect, and two people. That's just it's impossible. So, Brent, let's talk about some good news.
Yeah, good news.
So one of the things that I was, I guess, happy to see is that the Biden administration executive order to start studying the Supreme Court, actually more specifically, and adding seats potentially. And I know cynically it could be seen as them just kicking the ball down the line.
Yeah,
we're not going to do anything, but you know what?
We'll look into it though.
Having
we're going to
paper,
really look at this.
But having that cachet of getting some really smart people together to come up with some conclusions is at least the first step. Because I mean, this was going to happen regardless. This step has to happen regardless, right? Because you don't want it to, the executive has to have at least some buy-in for anything that they're doing to work, right?
Right.
Part of the reason why Trump was so unsuccessful in the end was because like we never gave him any inch. Like it was all like, fuck this, no, it's all bullshit, all this shit is illegitimate, we don't want it, I don't know. No. And because it all felt like a fraud from the get-go, because it was a fraud from the get-go, right?
Yeah.
But this sort of gives, you know, if you take that time and you get all these experts and you look at other countries and you break down like what is actually the problem here, how did we get here, what do we need to do to fix it, and you have that recommendation, then you at least have a starting point of like what you can advocate for. Because you can't just say put more seats on the bench, but then again, and there are people who've already done this work, and of course they could just be pulling from that, but you know, government has to do everything their own way.
I mean, it's always good to be able to point back to something to go, here's why we decided to do what we decided to do. It's because of this research, you know, this group did, you know.
I'm excited to see the recommendation.
I mean, it could came out with, and here's what would be helpful. You know, I think it's great. I honestly, I mean, as long as it's done, you know, as honest actors, I'm happy. I'm just, you know, I guess I'm just too too cynical at this point. You know, it's.
First, I'm too narcissistic.
I'm too narcissistic. I'm a narcissist.
I was like, I don't think
sociopathic too. Just wait.
What you mean? You might want to rethink that.
Mixing up my words.
I mean, okay. You know what? We'll see. But I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
Because at least, I mean, because they could just bury it. I mean, really, we are not surprised when administrations do full on about faces on all the shit they said they would do, you know, and then they don't do them. So, I mean, at least that part was heard.
Right.
Another bit of good news, potentially, is that Matt Gaetz might be out of all of our lives at some point.
Yay!
Which I did not think was ever going to happen. I was like, this man is going to grift his way.
I know, right? That's
to like even higher offices.
Dude.
Because for some reason, everyone loathes him, but nothing sticks.
Yeah.
Everyone loathes him, but nothing sticks.
Yeah.
He's like another Ted Cruz. Like, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Well, yeah. Because nobody, doesn't ever happen.
So, I mean, we're going to see where this all goes. You know, everything is alleged right now that he was involved with underage girls sexually, and there were payments, and apparently like point system in games, you know, giving people points for sleeping with certain interns and staffers. And it just all seems like, what kind of workplace is this?
Yeah.
And the same thing with that, like the guy in Orlando that is like turning over evidence on him right now. Damn, what's his name? Joel Greenberg?
The tax man.
Yes. Guy. I think, yeah. Like, it's just like, what?
It set the building on fire.
These people.
He had illegal servers that were.
Can I tell you, like, they dream of ways to get, dream up ways to get away with shit that it would not even occur to me.
Right.
Which is why I would be so bad at running my own criminal organization.
Right.
Because I would eventually stifle my own success, because I would not be able to think of all these terrible ways to do bullshit to people, like take advantage of people's trust in this public office. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was something we needed to be concerned about. So like now we can't, like, it's not only just like weird that we're like, we're just gonna start taking Bitcoin, but like now we gotta be afraid of public officials stealing the motherfuckers.
Right. Yeah.
Well, thanks. Well, goddamn. You know, like, it's really quite sad, but I really hope that this means Matt Gaetz is finally going away, because, like,
it looks like it.
We hope so, because who knows what the Republicans will do, especially the fucking Florida GOP. Whew.
Yeah. I mean, it's, who the fuck knows? But man, it seems like everything's just stacked. It's stacking up. All the evidence is just stacking up on him, dude. And he's just,
we'll see.
Poor guy.
We shall see.
Going to be done. The lipless bobblehead will be no more at some point.
It's like, and the fact that everyone knew he was a creep, everyone was talking about the fact he was a creep. And it just means nothing. It's so funny. I remember some of my professors, like my public policy and political science professors, who like worked on the Hill, just talking about back in the day, just like walking around and senators and representatives just like grabbing you and like pulling you into rooms like in the bottom of buildings and like touching you, and just a lot of inappropriate shit going down. And you listen to the stories and it makes you think of like, okay, but yeah, that was back in the day, right? Like that was at a time when it was really bad. And it's like, they're still doing some form of this shit.
Yeah. It's still there. Hardcore. Yeah, it's still there. They just have gotten better at trying to hide it. Well, I guess not, apparently. Actually, never mind.
And this is not meant to
so
like
obvious about this shit.
Like it's just it's sickening, and it's like I get like it pisses me off to hear about Matt Gaetz and him doing all of this shit and like harming a child potentially, and it's just it's disgusting. But I also get fucking pissed about Andrew Cuomo. Like, don't fucking do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Like, women have fucking enough to deal with than to like have to deal with like fucking sexual like
that dude needs to just resign.
Retaliation or favoritism. Like, it's just
because there was like
exhausting.
You can't have a workplace like that, like where there's a bunch of people that come forward and say like this was abusive. There was sexual, just sexual harassment, and there was all this other stuff. No, you're done. You're fucking done, dude.
And I think about
sorry, but you're fucking done.
And I think about all the people who may have been brilliant in those positions and never even got the chance because they would never wear tight dresses and like fucking, they could never, get away with that, or wearing heels every day or whatever. Like that's just not something that is available to them. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, yeah, you just can't be even considered because I deserve to be able to look at really attractive women all day. Like, that is something I deserve as governor.
Yeah.
Like, that is, again, I don't even understand the ways in which I could be taking advantage of the public's trust.
Right. And to be fair, it's probably some guy going, nah, Andrew's not about that. He wants you to be wearing heels every day. Okay? You need to look sexy.
It's about taking care of yourself. It's about showing that you, like, you're serious. And it's all the bullshit that they give you to make it, to just be like,
do you have a cocktail dress?
Fatties. It's just, I
need a cocktail dress from you. Come in. You're going to do an audition for Andrew, exclusive. And then, and
I can't even imagine, like, what.
That's how it was, too.
What do you do when we heard, too, like, during the election cycle, when, all the allegations that came out about, what was his name? Bloomberg, when he had a pregnant, employee, and just they really think that women are just there to entertain them, and when that is not available to them anymore, they are literally useless. And I know I'm talking about this like I'm so surprised. I'm not, but it's just like I don't see how they can't see that, because they get all in their feelings when people plainly lay it out for them that, like, this is what you're doing. Yeah. And they have 15,000 excuses for it. And it is gaslighting at its finest.
Right, yeah.
Truly.
Absolutely.
Truly. It's just...
disgusting.
It's just... And then they want to bash us over the head with not all men. Fuck you!
While screaming that Cuomo should resign, but we're like, what about Matt Gaetz? And like, what? What's going on with him? Was something happened? I haven't seen it. Don't know. No.
That I don't know.
I don't know. Phone. Don't show me
Tucker Carlson seemed like he was trying to get a 10-foot pole between him and Matt Gaetz. Like he had, and it was so awkward. If y'all have not seen that interview where Matt Gaetz went on Tucker Carlson, like right after the allegations came out, please go watch that. It is, it's like watching a snippet of The Godfather in real time, because you can tell that Matt Gaetz is just trying to remind Tucker, don't lose yourself over this. Don't forget who I am, which is a person who's been to a lot of shit that you've been to. Right. So I know everything.
Matt Gaetz.
So, like, it was just so, like, is he threatening this man in real time?
He, like, went out there and was like, you and I are the same, you and me. Yeah,
and
we're the same, bro.
When I wink went to that party that we were both at, and I brought that woman that time. Remember?
Remember, bro? Dude, you were there. Dude, don't make me. Dude, you remember. What?
So
he says he doesn't remember.
It's like a fucking soap opera.
What?
I can't. It's like the Young and the Restless of the Republicans. I can't keep up. These people are just, and they're the ones who are talking about needing better voters. Like
Tucker Carlson was like, "No, I don't remember anything that you're talking about." That was the weirdest interview I've ever had. That was great.
It's like, audience, don't believe that man. So anyway, that's our show. Again, thank you again for coming back after this break. We're so happy to be back. We're ready to get going again and get some show going. So let's start with some announcements. Brent, please listen to him. He is on Left at the Valley 2.0, and it is so good. It is so funny.
It's really been great.
Oh my God, the fucking skits.
Yeah, we do skits.
So fun.
I'm so happy to be able to do skits.
So fun. Yes, you are getting the fullness of Brent's voices, and I love it.
Yeah, I actually use them in this context.
We need to start doing some skits. I want to start doing skits on ours now. I feel like you're coming into your skit oneness, and I feel like we need to take advantage of that.
That's right.
And get you skitting up all the time. Yeah. That didn't sound right, but that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, it sounded sexual. I
didn't say that, but you had to just come out and say it.
It did.
Also, make sure you're tuning into the Debating Atheist on the Happy Debating Atheist, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Brent just this week released another 2 hours?
But a final hour and a half to what ended up being in total a 6.5 hour debate.
Yeah. So if you just want a debate to listen to, because lots of people are into that.
Yeah, I know you don't. You're not,
including the man sitting right next to me.
I love debate. I do. I really do.
I've never. So Brent just comes home and I'm like, hey, what's on the agenda tonight? Most people are like, oh, I'm going to catch up on this show I've been watching or whatever. Like, oh, I think there's a new debate. So I was going to watch that one. And
there was a new Matt Dillahunty like 2 days ago. Okay, on some Catholic channel.
You are. I love you.
It was great.
So make sure you're listening to those. We also want to say thank you so much, patrons, for hanging in there with us. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
Special shout out to Freethinker 215.
Yes.
For that little bump. We appreciate that big bump. Excuse me. We appreciate you so much.
The bump there, yeah.
And we really hope that you love that song, Brent. You're going to listen to it at the end of the show.
Yeah, we're going to play it. So this will be basically like so y'all can hear what the type of songs that I'll make for you if you become a $5 or more patron.
We're gonna say not $5 because I think we need to go back to the drawing board and really think about some of these things because they require us a lot more labor than we expected.
$10 or more patron. 20? Where are we at? I don't know. I don't know. It's worth.
I don't know. That needs to be an internal discussion. Because it's it's a song. So but anyway, I'm just kidding. we gotta take that whole part out.
It's fine.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. But yes, Brent just finished the song. It is so amazing. Yeah, I love how you you made it a very personal song, and I love that. It wasn't just it's just I love that. You're so good at that stuff. We want to say our other patrons, Sarah, who are also giving at that at the song amount. Yeah. Sarah, Larry, and Crazy Cat Lady. Don't worry, it's coming. You're going to be getting your songs.
Yes.
It is on. It's in the mind and on the way.
That's right. It's coming.
In the mind and on the way.
So it takes me a bit to make them. That's all. It takes,
Yeah, I mean, it's a creative endeavor.
Yeah, so
that stuff doesn't just.
It's
happen.
Not like I can just give me 2 hours and I can do it. Like it takes, it depends.
Yeah,
it just depends.
Yeah, it's definitely coming. We have not forgotten. We have been working on making sure we actually were missing a mic that we needed. Yeah. To be able to actually record the song. So we finally figured out what that was and we needed it and we got it because of your support, and we have a song for Freethinker 215. So we hope you enjoy it. We hope that you have enjoyed the show, and we will see you the next time.
That's right. So, what do we say? to the haters, discriminators, and masturbators shamers.
Fuck off.
Bye, everybody.
Never seen so many podcasts for one single page run. It's out there doing the real work. Can't see that you're a blind man, yeah. Reading into work He loves the cause of the Simpsons. Reading into work He loves the cause. The Simpsons, we can do